The depot lantern flickered like a dying star, pale, stubborn, and trembling beneath the weight of Christmas night. Snow pressed against the window panes in slow, deliberate breaths, as though the winter wind itself wished to look inside and judge the lone girl huddled on the bench. Clara Wynne sat with her gloved fingers threaded tightly around the handle of a faded carpetbag, the only thing she had inherited from her mother besides a relentless softness the world tended to mistake for weakness. She had tried to sleep, but the cold crept into her bones the way loneliness creeps into an untended heart, quietly first, then all at once. The train that brought her had long since vanished down the tracks, swallowed by the silver-dark plains. And the wagon that promised to fetch her, promised in a neatly written letter sealed with the Willow Flats School Board's crest, had never come. So she waited. And waited. The clock above the ticket window clicked past midnight, each tick sounding like another person turning their back on her. Her breath clouded the chilled air. It looked like a soft ghost escaping her lips, rising and vanishing, much like her hopes for this new life she had imagined. She pulled her shawl tighter. It held no warmth, but offered a small illusion of being held. A woman alone on a night like this, the thought itself felt like a sermon whispered by the wind. She knew how the West looked at women who traveled without family, without witness, without the protection of a man. A woman could be a teacher, yes, but only if she appeared saintly enough to satisfy those who judged from behind lace curtains. Clara had always believed she could weather such judgment. But tonight was teaching her otherwise. Hours earlier, Mabel Dunn, the depot keeper's wife, had stared at Clara's travel papers with an expression caught somewhere between suspicion and disappointment. "Schoolteacher, are you?" she'd said, squinting as though the very word offended her. "We were expecting someone older." "I assure you," Clara had said, offering a hopeful smile, "I have experience. And references." She had pulled the letters from her bag, careful not to show how nervous her hands shook. Mabel didn't bother reading a single line. Well, someone from the board should have come. Maybe they changed their mind. Clara's stomach had tightened. Changed their mind? Mabel shrugged, glancing toward the window as if the snowstorm outside interested her more than the fate of a shivering traveler. Never can be too careful. Young woman arriving alone. Makes folks wonder. Best wait here. Someone might come. Those words had landed like stones on Clara's chest. Someone might come. A fragile hope dressed in doubt. She had spent the next hours learning the exact sound loneliness makes when it settles beside you on a wooden bench, the creak of old planks, the shifting of cold air, the silence after every heartbeat. Her eyelids drooped. Her body ached. But she stayed awake. She had to. A woman alone on the frontier night learned early that sleep was not safety, it was surrender. Snow curled through the cracks in the door like delicate white claws. Somewhere outside, the Dunn's house glowed with warm light. Clara could hear muffled laughter drifting through the walls. A family celebrating, unaware of the girl freezing just 30 steps away. Or perhaps aware, and simply unbothered. She lowered her head, letting her forehead rest against her knees. She murmured a prayer she had not said in years, not since the day she buried her parents beneath the cottonwood tree near their Tennessee homestead. "Lord," she whispered, "just let the morning come." She didn't ask for rescue. Only morning. It was some time past the hour when even sorrow grows tired that she heard it, the slow, muffled crunch of boots pushing through thick snow. Not hurried footsteps. Not the stumbling of a drunk. But the measured steps of someone accustomed to cold nights and empty roads. Clara's head snapped up. The depot door groaned open, and a rush of icy wind swept inside, scattering snow across the floor like spilled sugar. A tall figure stepped through, blotting out the moonlight behind him. A cowboy hat dusted with frost. A coat worn by miles. A shadow stretching long across the wooden floor. Clara's pulse kicked wildly. The man paused, letting the door close behind him. He brushed the snow from his hat with unhurried motions, as though nighttime visits to abandoned depots were a common thing for him. Then he saw her. He blinked, surprised but not startled. His eyebrows lifted slightly and he tilted his head. "Evenin'," he said gently, his voice low and warm as embers in a stove. "Didn't mean to scare you." Clara straightened her spine, trying to appear composed. You didn't. She swallowed. I'm fine. He took in the scene, the single bench, the flickering lantern, her pale, trembling hands. His jaw tightened. No one ought to be waitin' alone on a night like this, he murmured, almost to himself. She opened her mouth to reply but found she had no argument to offer. She shouldn't be alone. And yet she was. The man stepped closer, though not too close, leaving a respectful space between them. He removed his gloves, shaking out the cold. You look frozen stiff, he said. Here. Before she could refuse, he set the gloves beside her, their leather dark and worn smooth. She felt heat prick her eyes. Small kindness always hit the hardest. Especially on nights like this. Thank you, she whispered. Name's Eli, he said. Eli called her. She hesitated only a moment. Clara Wynne. He nodded once, slowly, as if storing the name somewhere careful. Clara. Somehow, the way he said it made her feel less invisible. They spoke little at first. The quiet between them was gentle, not awkward. Eli poured lukewarm coffee from a saddle thermos and handed her the cup, his fingers brushing hers only briefly, but that fleeting touch sent a warmth spiraling through her so deep it felt borrowed from a memory she never had. The coffee tasted of tin and dust and faint sweetness. She held it like a lifeline. You travel alone? He asked softly. She nodded. Brave. She let out a fragile laugh. Foolish, some might say. Eli glanced toward the window, where snow drifted in heavy curtains. Bravery and foolishness share a border. Folks mix them up all the time. Smiled, small, tired real. He saw it. And returned it. The depot door banged open again. Cold stormed inside. And with it, Mabel Dunn stepped in, lips pressed so tight they nearly disappeared. Her eyes flicked from Clara to Eli, and her expression darkened like storm clouds. Well now, she said. Miss Wynne, I see you've found yourself company. The way she said it made Clara sit upright, cheeks burning. It's not what you think, Clara whispered. Mabel sniffed. Town's already wonderin'. A young woman travelin' alone, now sittin' in the dark with a stranger? Doesn't look good, dear. Eli stood, one hand resting casually near his belt, not threatening, just present. Ma'am, he said calmly, the lady was left out in the cold. Anyone with decency would. Decency? Mabel scoffed. Some of us care about reputation. Something you both ought to consider. Clara felt the words like knives. Her throat closed. Shame pooled beneath her ribs. She had done nothing wrong. Nothing but exist alone in the wrong place, at the wrong hour, with the wrong witness. Mabel straightened her shawl. The school board may reconsider your placement, Miss Wynne. Appearances matter. Especially for a teacher. With that, she turned and marched back into the night. The depot door slammed. Clara's hands shook. Eli's voice was gentle again. She had no right. Clara wiped a tear quickly. It doesn't matter. It does. She shook her head. I've lost enough for one night. I can endure her too. Eli's eyes softened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he knelt so he was eye level with her, careful, patient. Clara, you ain't been abandoned. Just misplaced. World does that sometimes. But it doesn't mean you're not worth finned in. Her breath hitched. Those words, simple, quiet, were the kind she'd carry with her for years. And maybe Eli knew it. Or maybe he was simply the kind of man who said what needed saying. The storm outside thickened, pressing against the depot walls like a wild thing. Eli checked the roofline through the window, his brow furrowing. That pipe's icing over, he murmured. If it blocks, this place'll lose heat. Panic fluttered in Clara's chest. What do we do? Eli rose smoothly. Stable next door's warmer. Safer. We'll move there. Outside. Her voice quavered. In this. He offered his coat, a heavy sheepskin lined with warmth and worn edges. It smelled faintly of cedar, saddle soap, and long, lonely miles. You can lean on me. I'll take the wind. She looked up into his winter-colored eyes, steady, certain, gentle. and some quiet courage stirred inside her. Not because she trusted the night, but because she trusted him. "All right," she whispered. He opened the depot door, and the storm greeted them with a howl. But he stepped forward first, bracing himself against the gale. Clara followed, clutching his coat around her shoulders. Snow stung her cheeks. Wind shoved against her small frame. Eli reached back, hands finding hers, steady and warm. "Just stay with me," he said. She nodded, teeth chattering. They moved through the blizzard, two silhouettes dissolving into white. The stable loomed somewhere ahead, lantern glowing faintly like a star behind thick fog. Halfway there, Clara stumbled. Her knees struck the snow. The cold hit her lungs like ice water poured into her chest. She couldn't breathe. Eli spun instantly, pulling her up, holding her tightly against him. "Clara," he murmured. "Stay awake. Lean on me. I've got you." The words were warm, fierce, certain. She clung to him, trusting him in the way a drowning person trusts the hand pulling them to shore. Together, they pushed through the storm. At last, Eli kicked the stable door open, dragging her inside. Warm hay-scented air wrapped around them. Horses shifted sleepily in their stalls. Clara's legs gave way. Eli caught her, held her, let her breathe. And for the first time that night, Clara felt safe. Not rescued, not saved, just safe. A rare, precious thing for a girl the world had often forgotten. He pulled his coat tighter around her trembling shoulders. "You're all right," he whispered. "You made it." She looked up into his eyes, and something inside her softened, something that had been clenched tight for years. "Thank you," she said, voice barely there. Eli didn't answer with words. He simply stayed beside her, steady as a winter oak, while the storm outside howled and clawed and failed to break them. The night stretched long. But not lonely. Not anymore.